Most of what you pay for in a bottle of laundry detergent is water, filler, and fragrance, added to make it feel like it does more than it actually does. 3 ingredients in most grocery stores combine into a detergent that can outperform what you use now, and one batch can last close to a year. The 3 ingredients are washing soda, borax, and a bar of plain soap. And once you understand what each one actually does, the recipe stops feeling like a kitchen experiment and starts making a lot of sense. Washing soda, also called sodium carbonate, is highly alkaline, which means it helps lift grease and oil off fabric and breaks down acidic stains. Borax, or sodium borate, works as a natural water softener and has mild deodorizing properties, which helps your clothes come out smelling clean, rather than just covered up with fragrance. The bar of soap is the actual surfactant, the ingredient that grabs onto oil and dirt and allows water to carry it away, which is the same basic job that the active ingredient in any detergent is doing. Here is a mistake almost everyone makes the first time they try this, so let us clear it up immediately. Washing soda and baking soda are not the same thing, even though they sound nearly identical and sit near each other in the store. Baking soda is sodium bicarbonate, and while it is useful for odor absorption, it is much milder and will not give you the same cleaning power. Washing soda is sodium carbonate, and it is more alkaline and more effective at breaking down grease. The good news is that if you can only find baking soda, there is an old trick that turns it into washing soda. Spread baking soda in a thin layer on a baking sheet and bake it in the oven at around 400 degrees for about an hour. The heat drives off water and carbon dioxide, converting the sodium bicarbonate into sodium carbonate, which is chemically a different compound with a noticeably different texture, slightly grainier, and less smooth than baking soda. This is genuinely how washing soda was made at home for a long time before it was commonly sold on its own in stores. Now for the actual recipe. Grate 1 bar of plain soap using a cheese grater or a food processor, which gives you roughly 2 to 3 cups of soap flakes depending on the bar size. Combine this with 1 cup of washing soda and 1 cup of borax. Mix everything together thoroughly so the soap flakes are evenly distributed throughout the powder, since soap flakes tend to be larger and can clump if they are not mixed well. Store the finished mixture in an airtight container, because both washing soda and borax can absorb moisture from the air over time and start to clump, which makes them harder to measure and use consistently. For an average load, you only need about 1 to 2 tablespoons of this mixture. This is noticeably less than the recommended amount for most commercial liquid detergents, partly because there is no water diluting it, and partly because washing soda and borax are doing extra work in the wash that store-bought detergents often rely on fillers and additives to compensate for. Let us talk about the math here, because the year-long claim deserves an honest explanation rather than just being thrown out as a number. 1 bar of soap typically grates down to around 2.5 cups, and combined with the cup of washing soda and cup of borax, you end up with roughly 4.5 cups of finished mixture. If you use 1 tablespoon per load, that single batch gives you somewhere around 70 loads. For a smaller household doing 1 or 2 loads a week, that batch alone can stretch out to nearly a year. For a larger household doing several loads a week, you might go through it in a few months instead. But even then, the cost works out to a tiny fraction of what a comparable number of loads would cost using a name brand detergent, since the core ingredients themselves cost only a few dollars total and make enough for dozens of loads. One area where this recipe genuinely does better than a lot of store-bought detergents is hard water. If you live somewhere with hard water, meaning water with a high mineral content, you have probably noticed that detergent does not seem to lather or rinse out as well, and clothes can come out feeling stiff or slightly dull over time. This happens because the minerals in hard water react with detergent and reduce its effectiveness. Washing soda and borax both help soften the water itself as part of the wash cycle, which means the soap component can actually do its job properly instead of fighting against mineral buildup the entire time. This is one of the main reasons people in hard water areas often report that this homemade mixture leaves clothes feeling cleaner and less stiff compared to their previous detergent. There is also the fragrance and additive side of things worth mentioning. Many store-bought detergents include synthetic fragrances, dyes, brighteners, and other additives, and some people find that these can be irritating to their skin, especially for sensitive skin or young children's clothing. This homemade mixture, using a plain unscented bar of soap, washing soda, and borax, contains none of those additives, so what you are left with is just the core cleaning agents and nothing else. If you do want a scent, some people add a small amount of an essential oil to the dry mixture, but that is entirely optional and has no effect on how well the detergent actually cleans. Now, an important practical note if you have a high-efficiency washing machine, often called an HE machine. These machines are designed for low sudsing detergents since too much foam can interfere with how the machine senses water levels and rinses clothes. A bar soap-based mixture like this tends to produce relatively little foam compared to commercial detergents, but soap flakes can occasionally be slow to fully dissolve in cold water, particularly in a quick HE cycle. If you have an HE machine, it is worth running your first load with warm or hot water if your fabrics allow it, and checking that the mixture has dissolved properly before assuming everything is working as expected. Some people also choose to dissolve the mixture in hot water first to create a liquid concentrate, which can dissolve more reliably in any machine. This same mixture can also double as a stain pretreatment, which is something most one-purpose detergents cannot do without a separate product. For a tough stain, take a small amount of the powder and mix it with just enough warm water to form a thick paste. Then work that paste directly into the stained area before washing as normal. Because washing soda and borax are both more concentrated here than they would be in a diluted wash cycle, applying them directly gives the stain extra time and concentration to break down before the wash even begins. This works particularly well on grease-based stains where the alkalinity of the washing soda helps break the oil apart so the soap can carry it away. If you want to take this one step further, adding about half a cup of plain white vinegar to the rinse cycle, either in a fabric softener dispenser or poured in during the rinse, can help reduce any leftover residue and leave towels and clothes feeling softer without using a separate fabric softener product. The vinegar smell does not transfer to your clothes once they are washed and dried, despite what people sometimes assume. The one thing worth knowing is that vinegar should never be combined directly with bleach, since mixing the two can release fumes. So if you use bleach on a particular load, skip the vinegar for that load and stick to one or the other. A quick safety note, since this is something you are mixing and storing at home. Borax should be kept in a clearly labeled airtight container, away from children and pets, and it is not something that should ever be ingested. The same goes for washing soda, which is more alkaline than baking soda and can be irritating if it gets into eyes or on broken skin during mixing. None of this is unusual for cleaning products, but it is worth treating this mixture with the same care you would treat any detergent, rather than assuming that because it is homemade, it is automatically harmless. There's something fitting about the fact that this recipe is really just a modern version of how laundry was done for generations before commercial detergent existed at all. Long before pre-measured pods and scented liquids, households made their own soap from rendered fat and lye, and washing soda was a staple in nearly every home for cleaning everything from floors to fabric. The 3-ingredient version covered here is essentially that same approach, simplified down to what actually matters for getting clothes clean, without all the extras that have been added over the decades, mostly for marketing rather than performance. If you try this, start with a small test batch first, just to confirm your washing machine handles it the way you expect and that you are happy with how your clothes come out, before committing to grating an entire bar of soap. And if your dish soap is sitting in the same category as your laundry detergent, expensive, full of fillers, and not actually working that much better than something simpler, there is a similar 2-ingredient swap for that as well, which is exactly what the next video covers, so stay subscribed for that one. Let me know in the comments whether you have hard water or soft water where you live, because that actually changes how noticeable the difference will be, and I want to cover both situations specifically in upcoming videos.